Right, in this video, we are going to make collectible coins. So I'm actually going to base this tutorial on our tutorial 01 platformer. So I'm going to make a copy of this. And so I'm going to copy and we'll paste that right here. And so now I have a copy of my game and I'm just going to rename it here as T03 Collectibles. Alright, so I have this game. It's exactly the same as my platformer. And so I'm just going to go open up Godot right now. And I'm going to import this new game, Godot. And there it is, collectibles. And we'll select this folder. And yep, looks like it's valid. So we'll say import. Alright, and so it's opened up my T01 game. If I go to the 2D view, you'll recognize this from the first video, and if I play it, there is my character jumping around. Alright, excellent. So I'm going to start off with this as a base, but you could use any game as a base really. We're just going to practice making something that when we touch it, it disappears, and then we can record how many of those things that we've touched. In this case, a coin. So we're going to make a new scene, and so the plus up here to add new scene, and this time we're going to choose another node, and we're going to choose something called area 2D right here. Alright, and we'll choose that, and we have an area 2D node. So just to review, the nodes that we've used so far are character body, which is meant to be something that is controlled by the user. And so usually the player is going to be a character body 2D. We've had static body 2D, which is something that just basically stays in place and doesn't move. And we've also had node 2D, which doesn't have any special properties. It's just kind of an all-purpose general node. And now we have, for the first time, area 2D, which the special thing about area 2D is that it's very good at detecting things that touch it. And so that's exactly what we want. As we've done with some of the other things in the previous tutorials, we're going to give area 2D a sprite 2D and also a collision body 2D. Alright, so this should be fairly standard for us at this point. So we're going to we'll just give it that same icon. What we're going to do is we're going to change the size of our sprite because we want this to be quite a bit smaller than our player. And so we'll change the size just with the handles there. And then we can give it our collision shape, and that can just be a rectangle. And I want to distinguish it from the player, so I'm actually going to go back to the sprite 2D, and I'm going to just adjust the color. And so I'm going to go into visibility in the inspector here. So in the inspector, so far we've just used the sprite 2D, but there's other things that we can use here. I've clicked on the drop down for visibility, and that's given me some options. I'm going to choose modulate, and here you see a color wheel, and so you can turn it whatever color you want. So you can change the color of your sprite. And so you can see it's now a slightly different color. Actually, if we turn our collision shape invisible, you'll see it a little better, that it's this kind of reddish color. We're not changing the sprite itself, we're just giving it kind of an overlaid tint. And so because it's already a dark color, it's not going to change as much as, say, if your sprite was a lighter color, but that's fine. If we put it into our scene, we'll still see that it is slightly different. So I'm just going to go to my level scene and use the chain to put in the, oh no, I forgot to save it, excuse me. Go back to the scene, change the name to coin, and save, Control S, and coin is what I want to name, that's fine. And now I can go back to my level scene and I can use the chain, and there it is, coin, and here it is. I'll put it down here. And now if we play the game, we see the coin. Of course, if I run into it, nothing happens because I haven't programmed anything, but you can see that it is clearly a different color. All right, let's stop that and go back to our coin scene. What we're going to do now is give our coin scene a script. So if you forgot, the way to give a script to a scene is to click on this little scroll thing with a plus, a green plus on it, and that attaches a script. In this case, our template, just empty is fine. And path is coin.gd, that's fine. Everything default is fine. And so we create, and here is our script. Just to point out that we can change between scripts. So right now you can see our two scripts here, coin.gd and player.gd, and I can flip back and forth between those. Okay, at this point, we're going to select the coin, the root node of the coin, and then we're going to go over to our inspector. I want to point out at the top here, inspector is just one of the tabs that we have on this panel, and we have another tab called node. Let's click into that, and in the node we have all of these different functions. We're going to choose one. In fact, we're going to choose body entered, and so we double click on that, and that brings up this window here, and we want to connect this to the coin script, which is right here, coin. And so we can say connect. And so in our coin script now, which is where we are, it's created this function here on body entered. Okay. And then it has just some random stuff down here, which we're going to delete. And then you can also see in the node panel, we're in signals, and we can see that body entered has this green thing next to it, which signifies that it's been connected. So what have we done here is that we've created what's called a signal. What's going to happen is that the game is going to run, and when this body is entered, so in other words, when the coin is entered, in other words, when something collides or something comes into contact with the coin, it's going to trigger this thing, which is called a signal, and the signal triggers this function, which is in coin.gd to run. So now we need to tell a GD script what to do when this happens, when something bumps into the coin. All right, so what do we want to happen in this case? Okay, so we have this first line, if body dot is in group player. Okay, so what is that? Well, okay, so we know what if is. We saw that last time. If this thing is true, I'm going to execute all of these lines of code which are indented in this block, right? Body, what is body? Well, it's somewhat confusing because there's kind of two bodies, right? Body you can think of just as like that coin. And so this is one of the bodies. So something has contacted with the coin, and then this body is basically the thing that has contacted with the coin, i.e. the player. So basically we're saying if this body, so this body is this body, okay, is in group player. So if it is in player, then we're going to do these things. And what we're going to do is we're going to add a coin to our coin collection. So this is going to take place in the player script. So this body, as I just said, is the player. And so it's referencing this function from this player. So it means I have to go into my player script and find that function, which I have not created yet. We'll create it in just a second. And then it's Q3, which is like a built-in function in Godot, which destroys that thing where it is. So in this case, Q3 is going to destroy our coin. Okay, so, and that's fine, because when the player touches the coin, we want the coin to disappear, which means it's destroyed. Okay, so good. Now we need to take care of the group, and we need to take care of the add coin. No problem. So to take care of the group, I'm going to go into my player scene, and I'm going to go into the node tab on the right. And this tab has like two tabs here, signals and groups. Let's go to groups, and let's create a global group. Oh, sorry, I guess you have to plus it. So let's add a new group. Yes, that's what I want to do. And the name of the group is player. Okay. Global. Yeah, we want it to be global because we want every scene to be able to see it. So we say okay. And player is in that group. And so basically, if I go back to my coin.gd script and body is in group player, well, yes, it is now because I've just added the player to the player group. So we're all good there. And then we need to create the add coin. So I'm going to go into my player.gd by clicking on that script over here. So far in my scripts, I just have the physics process. So I need to make a new function. And so I come to the bottom and I go back to that level of indentation. I'm just going to zoom out a bit so that you can see all of this stuff has been indented inside of physics process. And so this code we didn't write. This code was pre-written for us. Remember, we used the template, but you can recognize a few of the familiar things like move and slide and velocity.x and so on. We're actually going to make a new function. So we're going to go down here to the bottom, unindent, so it's directly under that previous function. Now we're going to say func, and we're going to say add underspace coin, like so. Just zoom in so we can see it clearly here. All right, so inside our function, we're going to have a line of code for coins, and we'll say every time that we call this function, let's increase our coins by 1. It's saying coins not declared because I have never declared this variable. We'll go up to the top where I declare my variables up here, and we'll say var coins, and we'll start at 0 like so. And so that should fix the error message down there. And indeed it did. And then after that, let's just print coins so that we can see how many coins that we have. All right, let's now go back to our level and go back to our 2D view, and let's add a few more coins so that we can see. So I'm just going to do the chain thing a few times here, chain again, add another coin. So you can see here, oh, whoops, that coin became a child for some reason. There we go. So I have coin, coin 2, coin 3, okay, and so on. All right, and so let's now run that. All right, so as I touch the first coin, it disappears, so it got queue free, and you can see down here it typed a 1, and then I keep on going, and so that one disappears. It types a 2, and so our coin counter is keeping on going up as the coins disappear, and 3, and so now we've just made our collectible coins, and that is done. All right, so that is it for this tutorial, and we'll see you in the next one.